to you from the Radio for One studios in Franklin, Michigan. Welcome to the Detroit Cast.
Big fan. Big fan.
A show not just free of charge, but free of FCC regulation.
Thank you for your support of the Detroit Cast.
Oh, there it is.
And without further delay, it's showtime. Please welcome the Detroit Cast. Here are your hosts, Mike and Jay.
Are you on live right now?
Technically, yeah, we are, Paul. That was a bad one. Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Detroit Cast. Mike and Jay. Shalom, Big E. Jay, how are you? That is a
fine.
Gorgeous-looking sweatshirt. Why don't you stand and give me a little twirl really quick? That is sharp. Is there anything on the back of that? No?
Do you want to explain the statement that was a bad one for any new listeners?
Yeah, I took a salt and it hit my eye wrong, my left eye, stage right eye.
Speaking of your head, did you get it fixed?
We are
non-rotting anymore? Are you on antibiotic?
I feel good. No, I feel good. They went in. It's possible that some rotting is going to continue, but we went in and we cleaned the whole thing out. She found in there
Your lost key?
not a lost key. No. She was like, "Oh,
pair of
interesting.
underwear?
There's a little piece of blue latex in here from the last thing that was done."
Gross, dude.
Yeah, I didn't even ask how big it was. And the other assistant was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, look right here." And she was like in there.
It's the same place that did the prior procedure?
No. Remember she sent me to a orthopedic specialist or
Endodontist.
something. Yeah, endodontist, whatever it is.
No,
She
you
sent
hear
me
that
there.
all the time. Doctors leaving gauze and shit in you and sewing you up.
Yeah, I didn't know that was possible with a tooth.
I know.
Isn't that weird?
I think the canal would be, the anal would be so small.
Yeah. So anyway, she went in there and she like cleaned it all out and drilled. And then she was like, "You know what? You might have an infection. If so, that's going to require you to go back to that guy for a whole new procedure, costly, everything. I'm hoping that we can gauge this. We can fill this now, clean it out, fill it, and hopefully you don't have any problems, but we're going to need to monitor this over the next 3 months and make sure." So fingers crossed. It's totally my fault. I was supposed to go back, weeks after the initial one. And
Did you get the gas?
I did get the gas.
You are such...
Dude, they were drilling in my head.
Yeah, a couple shots. Who gets gas? I didn't even know this was a thing, man.
Yes.
Gas?
I would if I could every time, dude.
I didn't even think. I
shots,
thought that was like
pain.
back in the 70s or
No,
something.
you
Dentists
can-
would give you gas.
No, you can get gas for just a cleaning. If people are just afraid of the dentist, they go in and they get gas.
That's what dude, for my anal insertion, dude, if I can't get gas or some shit for that, dude, I'm not doing it.
What?
The
What?
finger up the butt. Like the
You talking about TCG or something
no,
right now?
the-
What are you?
the prostate examination.
Gotcha.
Nah,
No, dude, if I go in there to fill out some paperwork, I'm taking the gas while I'm filling it out. That's just the way it is. So yeah, I do feel pretty good, and it's just all filled in now.
Good.
Looking good.
I'm
yeah.
glad.
So my head is not rotting
Feeling
nearly
better.
as much. Yeah.
Good.
Which is very important. Exciting day for us today. We've got an interview to get to coming up here shortly with the author of the book Shattered, Inside Hillary Clinton's Doomed Campaign, and we'll be talking to Amy Parnes.
This is a widely sold book out there right now, hugely
Oh.
popular.
Yeah, huge.
A lot of people reading this.
It's a big book. It's about borderline of how big of a book I'm willing to read and do an interview. You know what I mean? Like it's a pretty big, although it's not
No pictures.
no pictures,
Yeah.
and it's not spaced
Do
terribly.
you feel relief when you get to the end of a chapter and it's like, oh, thank God, half a blank page?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do, dude.
It's
I
not
really
that
do.
long, dude. It's like 400 pages.
I know, but it
Kind of big print.
It's kind of big print. It's a little intimidating looking at
I'll
it.
tell you what I'm not reading.
I know.
That book I lugged in today. It came in a freaking, 4x4 box I pick up at
Dude.
your damn post office down there. I have to wait. Won't go into it.
Oh no, what happened?
No,
You've come in a mood today. Is it because of the post office in part?
no, I don't even want to talk about why I'm in a mood.
Oh no. Does it have to do with us?
Everything has to do with you. I'm linked to you guys. I'm like handcuffed. It's like we've escaped prison, but we have handcuffs on each other, all three of us, and we're trudging through a swamp.
Sorry about
Yeah.
that. It's no picnic for us either.
So anyway, I pick up the book, and it's this Obama book.
Yeah.
Like, first off, why the fuck is this guy writing like this Inside Obama book now?
Yeah.
Like, dude, how about I don't know, 10 years ago when we could have had a warning? on who the hell the guy actually was.
Yeah.
But anyway, this thing's like 1,200 pages thick. I'm
Yeah.
not shitting you.
It's
Pretty
the biggest
small
book
type,
I've ever.
too.
It's tiny type.
It's not.
I'm not reading that. I'm
Yeah.
saying it right now. We're not doing
I
that
might
interview.
read it. And dude, you canceling an interview?
I
A
can't-
potential-
You can do it. You guys have fun. Not doing it.
It is honestly intimidating to look at. Like I'm looking at this book, and it's like the Encyclopedia
It's
Britannica.
Bibles. It's 2 Bibles back
Dude,
to back.
it's like A to Z encyclopedia. It's humongous. So I don't know what we do with it. Use it as
Humongous, one might say.
use it as a coffee table. It's huge. So yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. That would take months to get through.
But this book Shattered, yeah, good book. And we have Amy Parnes coming up.
Yes. And well, I guess we should get into some of the news of the day. Trump has set the world on fire again. Whoa, what a shock, right? With his releasing information to Russia.
It had to be Russia, too, right?
Of course.
Had to be Russia.
Of course. But they've apparently said that he's revealed highly classified information to the Russian foreign minister and ambassador in a White House meeting last week. This is according to current and former U.S. officials. The information relayed has been provided by a U.S. partner through an intelligence sharing arrangement considered to be very sensitive. The details have been withheld from so sensitive that we haven't even given details to our allies about it, and tightly restricted even within the U.S. government. The partner had not given the United States permission to share the material with Russia. Trump's
Let me just stop you there, though. So you're reading that article, and I'm looking at one that says, no problem. McMaster says Trump's Russian info sharing was wholly appropriate.
yeah,
So just, you've pulled that off one website. I'm looking at another website.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with all this shit.
yes.
What's the truth?
It's these leaks, man. It's these leaks that keep coming out and then get handed to the press. And the Washington Post has a dangerous headline. Donald Trump gives inside information, code word information. They said. I'm not saying code red. I'm saying code word information to the Russians because he's just a boob, essentially. Like he gets bullet points for things. He barely pays attention in these meetings, if you're to believe them, and he doesn't do it purposely. But he doesn't know. He's not listening to his staff
Yeah.
about the sensitivity of things. He's like, got it,
Yeah.
got it, and then he gets in a meeting and he just starts bullshitting with people.
That's one possibility. He's a moron. He didn't understand or appreciate the sensitivity of the information.
Do you know what
one.
the information is? Because I think it's about
It plays into this notion. They just put a huge warning in terms of carrying laptops or iPads
Yeah.
on intercontinental flights, right?
Right.
And that's been in place for a few months from Africa to Europe and North America. But now they're saying Europe to North American flights. There's going to be a ban on laptops and iPads in the cabin.
yeah.
So I think the speculation is it plays into that.
Something to do with ISIS, too. Some warning about ISIS that another foreign government is in the region and that Trump has been getting this information from, very sensitive about a possible attack of some sort. And by giving away some details about this to Lavrov or whatever and whoever, the ambassadors from Russia last week, which he apparently wasn't supposed to do, didn't have permission to do, this is setting off the alarms that they would now be able to take these details and figure out who we're talking about and what they know.
Yeah, they say it would be obvious.
Yeah.
Because Russia's so sophisticated in terms of intelligence, it'll be obvious given the information who gave us that information.
Right.
But there's several scenarios here. There's one that Trump is a moron, as we just mentioned. Very, very, very possible.
I mean, almost likely.
I mean, that's probably the 99% one. Another one is that he didn't understand the importance and has now disclosed an enormous secret to it, to our enemy. He just didn't understand that. And then another one is that he understood it, but thought that it was best for mankind to give it out. That's his story currently.
Yeah.
Is that, hey, I wanted them to know about this so that they could keep their people safe. And moreover, I have the power to do it.
Yeah.
He's all over the place saying, I can do it. It was totally legit.
Yeah.
And experts have said, at least early on here, like, yeah, it is confidential and classified, but the president has the ability to declassify and
Anything
share that
he
information.
wants. Yeah. And share it as he sees fit.
Yeah,
He's
and
the
so-
one person that can do that.
Right. And then the other thing is he could have understood that it was classified and he gave it out of malice. Like, screw the U.S. intelligence, and it doesn't matter. I'm going to help out Russia because I want to help out Russia because that's my thing.
Yeah.
So there's all these different kind of like, we don't really know him well enough yet to understand. I suspect it's the first one that he's a moron.
Yeah.
And it just wants to big stuff it in a meeting.
Yeah.
Well, you do know about the iPad thing, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I do not know that.
The Kirkuk told us.
Yeah. The iPad thing, you know.
No, I don't, Donald. Please.
Yeah, and then he just discloses it.
Well, I don't know what's more troubling, that scenario that you just presented or these leaks that keep coming out and spilled to the Times, the New York Times, and the Washington Post, because that's a problem, too. To have people that are on the inside that fucking hate this guy so much that they're undercutting everything at every step.
Well, the whole strategy is delegitimize this guy, so you
Yeah.
make him look like a fucking moron who doesn't understand classification.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, you just create another huge story that then gets away from his agenda. You know, when's the tax plan coming? We heard this this new tax plan was coming a month ago. Where's that? Well, I got to deal with this first. And these things just keep happening.
And then the other thing is, when you report, when everything you report about this guy, and you could say this to MSNBC, CNN, certainly to the Washington Post, the New York Times, when every single story you do is billed as, oh my God, the world's coming to an end because of this guy, it becomes the boy who cried wolf, and you start looking like you're not capable of seeing the potential good in something and differentiating between the two. And so that leaves us to guess for ourselves, where you used to have a media that you could, for the most part, didn't get everything right, but you could rely on the information was well vetted, it's well sourced, and then you could go from there and make your decision on things. But we're in the strangest media period I've ever seen, where nobody seems capable of doing that. And so we're left to guess between differentiating stories. Very frustrating. So I don't know where that goes or what he's technically done. Was there anything more to that story other than that? I think that's for the most part, right? I'm looking at this thing and I'm just like, are we forgetting something? Is there another aspect to this story we need to mention?
I do need to mention insurance, Mike. We all need it, and most of us don't even know what kind of coverage we have or who provides it. Let fellow TDC listener Brent Wasick from Wasick Insurance Services change all that. Brent has over 29 years in the business, offers all types of insurance coverage, auto, home, health, life, business, commercial, and more. Call Brent Wasick at 734-455-1900. Get a free, no-obligation quote today. Again, that's 734-455-1900. Ask for Brent Wasick at Wasick Insurance.
And the problem, continuing that theme with the media, is the story about Kellyanne Conway today that landed yesterday with, who was it, Mika and Joe Scarborough from MSNBC, the Morning Joe host.
I heard they're a thing, Mike. Is that true?
I think they are now engaged or something. Didn't he get engaged to her
Yeah.
like on the air a couple weeks ago or something? SNL was playing into that too. But they apparently hate Kellyanne Conway so much, and they were talking yesterday that she was apparently on their show, and when the mics were off and the cameras were off, she said something like, "Ugh, I got to go take a shower," and like, I can't stand this guy Trump that I'm working for, and basically saying he is a client, nothing more, a paycheck, and I can't wait to get done with this. And since then she's accepted a job as she is as counsel for him, and so it's not like she was in a hurry to get out of there once November 9th hit or whatever.
It's believable, though. It's got to be tremendously hard to defend this guy.
Yeah, for sure. I don't believe in this guy. He's just my client. It's a paycheck. That's it. I'll be off this soon. More troubling to me is the fact that they would go on the air and say that. Like, that is so uncool for a media member to do, to claim that a conversation that was held while the mics are off. Dude, that's just one of the golden rules of media that you don't do to people. You just don't. Ever. And, every person who is in the media has tons of stories of people who got off the air, and as you're walking out of the room with them, or when they believe that they're not mic'd anymore or cameras are off, they'll be like, "Oh man, that was and they'll tell you how they really felt about something. Or you can ask something that isn't really appropriate to ask on the air, but off the air when you're done and you're walking out, go, hey man, what's the story with this shit? And they might go, yeah, dude, I know. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop on that. I'm not looking for it, and give you something. But dude, out of respect for the game, like, you just don't ever then go public with something like that. You don't see it, and it's because it's just not fair. It's not fair to how the game's played. And for them to go on the air like that is so troubling.
Well, I'm surprised she would be so stupid to say something like that, though. She knows this is all-out war,
Yeah,
that the media is against that administration.
yeah. And
So
you
I'm
would
surprised that she would just rely on this unspoken code that you refer to.
Yeah. And I can't speak for television as much as I can for radio, where it's pretty obvious, you know, you can see when mics are on and you know when they're not, and you know, when you've gone into a commercial break or you're walking someone out. And I have tons of stories of that, walking someone out, and you'll ask them, you know, there was one person people would know around here, works for one of the sports teams as a broadcaster, and I was asking him about one of the chicks that he works with, and I was like, "Yeah, what do you want?" He was like, "Fuck no, dude. Nah, she's fucking gross. Fucking gross. Nope, wouldn't, dude. Get it out of your head. Wouldn't be interested. She's gross." And it's like, if I went on the air like down the road and went, "Guess what so and so said about so," like, dude, that would be so fucking out of line to do, and that's basically what they're doing here. And it's just, you know, I've never seen anyone do that sort of thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but the person you're referring to would, like, I don't know, he would have no sense that you would have an interest in doing that. Whereas Kellyanne should know, I guess, that, again, like, it's fucking on, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Her boss has called out the media in a way that it's never been called out.
Yeah.
So I'm just surprised that she would let her guard down like that.
And plus, for a team that is so convinced that everything that comes out of her mouth is a lie, and that so much so that they will not have her on their show. Why isn't this a lie then? Why wouldn't you just assume if everything she says is a lie, so much so that you're not even willing to put it on your air anymore?
It's a moment of truth, Mike.
Yeah, is that what it is? Yeah, I don't know. It's scary, dude. It's scary time we're in with this stuff right now. I got to be honest. And then the other one of the other big stories today is Seth Rich, which he was the DNC staffer that was murdered in D.C. after a late night drinking. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
He's the one most people would know from wearing like head to toe American flag, stars and stripes shit. Super American. New details coming out about that murder and suggesting that he was the guy that was the WikiLeaks leaker.
Yeah, that was a speculation a while ago, but apparently there's some investigators that have come out lately and said, yeah, there's a link, computer link, email otherwise, that show him communicating with WikiLeaks.
And I know Julian Assange tweeted this story today. Tweeted out, like, to give it even more. Yeah, when they were talking about how this was a robbery gone awry, or Ari at 4 a.m.
Still had his watch and his wallet, right?
Watch, wallet, cell phone, nothing was taken from him. He was shot in the back. But there's an investigator. They call him, a kind of a private eye investigator guy, which sounds kind of corny, but I think he was an actual, like, D.C. investigator, like police investigator at one point. And his name's Rod Wheeler. He was hired by the Rich family and claims there is evidence on Rich's laptop which suggests he was communicating with WikiLeaks. He says that either D.C. police or the FBI are holding the data analyst's laptop as part of a conspiracy to cover up his death. They haven't been cooperating at all. I believe that the answer to solving his death lies on that computer, which I believe is either at the police department or at the FBI. He claimed sources have given him confirmed evidence that Mr. Rich was in contact with WikiLeaks, while a D.C. Police insider has told him that they were told to stand down on this case. WikiLeaks published those emails 2 weeks after his death. They then offered $20,000 to help solve the case. He is saying that it's pointing to maybe Russian operatives, that high-level Russian operatives took him
That's
down.
something. It's like out
It's
of
incredible.
a movie or something.
Yeah. Wonder if there's any truth to it, but something never sat right with that story, you know?
Yeah, just the fact that nothing was taken from the guy and it was explained as a robbery.
Yeah. And the whole way that campaign was going down and the WikiLeaks stuff, like, it's crazy. Who knows if we'll ever get to the bottom of what actually happened there.
Hey, our friends at Zod Ford need your help. They're in the middle of a massive sales contest. Help them win it by buying or leasing a new Ford Focus, Fusion, or Taurus. During this contest, buy a new 17 Ford Focus for as low as 13 grand, or lease a new 17 Ford Fusion as low as 118 a month. Better yet, buy a new 17 Ford Taurus for just $21,500. Surf their filthy deals and massive inventory at dealsinthede.com.
Did you see Bill Cosby gave an
Playing the
interview?
race card.
Ah, yes. If there are two black men on the planet,
OJ and Cosby.
I didn't even need to finish the thought. OJ and Cosby are two black men who cannot play the race card. I'm
No.
sorry.
Who in their heyday were universally loved.
By everybody.
Yes.
Hence universally. But yeah, he's saying, I mean, you gotta take a stab at something, right? I mean, you gotta put something out there. And his trial is coming up. But
Don't want to lose the game still holding that card. You know? Get
right?
it out there. Get it in play. Come on,
yeah,
man.
if you let the trial wrap up with the race card or the lie card still in your
Oh.
hand, you're a fool.
Fool.
Absolutely.
That and a draw 4 wild.
Dude, can you imagine getting, because that becomes a troubling thing, because you want to hold on to that and like fucking bam,
Right at the right time.
end the whole goddamn game. Take it down to Chinatown right there. And if you don't, you could get stuck with a reverse in your hand, whatever. What's the two
There's a skip, reverse,
what's
draw
the other
4 wild, wild.
What's the other black one?
Wild.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And then there's a draw 4 wild.
Draw 2.
There's another black one that's like
There's wild and draw 4 wild.
it's co-pilot to draw 4. It's like the second best card. Yeah, it's this guy here. Oh, it's a
Wild.
wild, where you can change the color. Is that what the deal is?
Yes.
Yeah. You can get away with having that still in your deck, but if you got to draw 4,
Fool.
yeah,
Race
I mean,
card and the wild draw 4. You're crazy to keep those.
how does that work? By the way, when you play the draw 4 wild, do you get to pick who has to draw 4? It's the guy next.
The guy next draws 4, and you call the color.
So that's why you're hoping the guy to your right throws a reverse and kicks it back around to your neighbor if you wanted to hit him.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, Cosby and 2 of his daughters have stepped up in his defense in what appears to be a little bit of a media campaign. I would agree with that. Trying to change the subject a bit here. In an interview, I'm surprised he would do an interview with Michael Smerconish, though, on Sirius. In an interview that is going to air today, technically, he said nefarious is a great word, and I just truly believe that some of it may very well be that. I'm not sure exactly what he means by that statement. Monday, 2 of his daughters released statements professing their father's innocence, touting his achievements. Both blame the media. My father has been publicly lynched in the media, Enza Cosby said. His daughters vigorously defended him as a civil rights activist, advocate for children, educator, philanthropist, and a role model.
What does Camille have to say?
Which, well, Camille is standing by her man,
Yeah.
you know. And this is the trouble with having family go out to defend you. Everything his daughter said could be 100% true. He's a civil rights icon. He's philanthropic. He's an educator. He's an advocate for children. Very true. He wouldn't come to your bedroom one night and go, by the way, I love raping the chicks. Like, you aren't supposed to know that.
right.
Just like we're not supposed to know that. So the acts of which my father is accused are unthinkable, knowing the man who is my dad, Aaron Cosby. I would agree. They are. Knowing the man who is your dad, those are unthinkable. Doesn't make them not true. Cosby also started tweeting recently, like his last one was about an upcoming show last November or something. That was like his last Twitter activity. And then all of a sudden he's like, I love my wife Camille and my 4 daughters
Just
and
tweeting that out.
yeah, my late son Ennis, blah, doing all that kind of stuff.
Is there any chance he sent that out through his phone, or someone just didn't, a publicist or something, didn't run that account?
Who knows?
Do you really think Cosby sat there and like, this is the time?
I don't know. Maybe. So anyway, Smerconish released a little clip of the daughter's statement declaring, I strongly believe my father is innocent of the crimes alleged against him. I believe that racism played a big role in all aspects. And then so he says, do you agree with that? And Cosby's answer was, could be. I can't say, but there are certain things that I look at and I apply to the situation, and there are so many tentacles.
Son of a bitch.
Not sure what that means, though. What does that even mean? Like, could be. I can't say anything, but there are certain things that I look at and I apply to this situation, and there are so many tentacles. Once Mercanish pointed out that his accusers are both black and white. Kaz suggested that they were motivated by different factors, not always racism. So the black ones are motivated not by racism, but of like money or something. There are some people that can be very well motivated by whether or not they're going to work or whether they might be able to get back at someone. So in terms of whether or whatever the choice is, I think that you can also examine individuals and situations that will come out differently. So it's not every, but I do think there's some.
I just think I don't know, maybe it's funny to me that, like, you know, March 3rd from his Twitter, he's just tweeting out articles that are saying that he's innocent. Like,
This is not going to go well for him.
I mean,
Look at that dude. You need to just go slip away, sir. Sorry.
dude, he's kind of that's the thing, right? Hasn't he? Well, I guess he's in this trial, so is he? What could happen here?
What do you mean?
Like,
Well,
can
it
he go to
hasn't
jail?
started.
You go to jail.
Okay, yeah.
He's accused of rape.
Yeah, like 50 times over.
What's the timing on that? Do we know?
I think it's in July.
Very good.
Early July, maybe? Yeah.
Hey, you're no longer at your previous employer. Should your 401k still be there? What are your options? Leave the money with that plan, roll over the assets to a new employer plan, roll over to an IRA, or cash out the account value. Call Mark Leibovitz at LPL Financial for a complimentary consultation to see if an IRA rollover may be the right decision for you. Call 248-626-2000 and ask for Merck or Mark. Mark would probably be best.
Mark would be
Call,
best.
call that number, ask for Mark Leibovitz.
Yeah.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
God, every time I see the posters for the upcoming Pirates of the Caribbean movie and Johnny Depp playing pirate.
Jonathan Depp.
Yeah, Jonathan's all dressed up in his pirate garb. Arr,
It's
matey.
weird to see him out of the pirate garb at this point.
Yeah, I
Dude's
can't
done like
differentiate.
20 of these things.
Yeah, well, every time I see him, I just think about the girl who's now with Elon Musk, and here he is playing dress up for a
Yeah.
Disney movie. It's just like,
What she must be thinking.
yeah.
That was for you, Mike.
Thanks. No, you can keep that one. This is not bad. Took me a second, actually. Embarrassed by that. What must she be thinking? No, but like, of all the people on the planet, Jonathan Depp is one of those guys that is the coolest in every room and probably the
Not anymore.
richest.
The dude's jumped the shark.
Yeah, true, but for for decades, he's been that guy. And
Yeah.
if things are going to end, they're going to be on Jonathan's terms. What do you mean you're not interested in me anymore? What do you mean you don't want my money? Like, all of those things apply to Jonathan. He's the shot caller. That's why he's fucking whipping bottles at the wall.
Yeah. Finally, one of his bitches, like, upgraded.
Like, upgraded on Jonathan Depp.
Yeah.
Unthinkable. And then I just see him dressed up in his little pirate costume.
I
It's like,
know,
oh, look at him in his
I know.
little Halloween
Again.
costume. Meanwhile, her new beau is trying to get the planet to Mars safely.
Yeah.
And, he's got rocket ships going everywhere. He's a multi-billionaire. He owns Tesla.
Yeah, he's got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. And then there's
Trying
Jonathan.
to save humanity.
Jonathan with all his fake swords playing
Yes.
pirate. Arr, matey. And it's just like, Jonathan. Anyway, we might get to see that movie a little earlier than planned.
That's what I heard.
Hackers are threatening to release it. Man, these hackers are getting ballsy, aren't they? Bob Iger has come out. He's the president and CEO of Disney. And he says that hackers claim to have stolen the unreleased Disney movie. And, of course, they're demanding a ransom. We don't know what the ransom is, but I guess they're going to release, like, the first 20 minutes of the movie if you don't pay by X date.
I thought it was 5 minutes
Oh,
and
yeah.
then 20-minute increments after that until
Yes.
they show the whole film.
But they got to do that soon, right? Doesn't it come out, like, next week? I think next
Yeah,
Friday or
I think so.
something. So, yeah.
The big summer blockbuster we're all waiting for, Mike.
Is it really, though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do kids still
I
want to
had
go
no
see
idea
that?
this was coming out. No idea.
Yeah, what is it? Dead Men Tell No Tales, I think, is this
Sure.
one. If you
I
would have
thought
asked
that was
me,
the last one.
dude, I was going to say, if you would have said, like, what was the Pirates of the Caribbean movie that came out 3 years ago? I would have said, Dead Men Tell No Tales, I think.
Dead Man's Chest or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Hairy Chest. I don't know.
Yeah, it comes out next Friday.
Yep.
So no, that was just my point. Like, you're right. They better hurry up.
So, yeah, they want some of this ransom paid in Bitcoin. And,
Bitcoin.
yeah, well, it's just so untraceable. It's not,
Yeah.
that would suck if you asked for it and they sent you the the cash in a bag with that exploding die packs in it. You know what I mean?
Disappointing.
Like Bitcoin prevents that. And so, yeah, they want some of it in Bitcoin at least. We've got to get a handle on this fucking... I'm so tired of seeing, like, the user, the Dark Lord. The Dark Lord is demanding ransom.
Tools sitting in a basement.
Voltron demands. All right, Voltron, Dark Lord, Sith Master. Shut up. These fucking people, man. It's unbelievable. Sitting in some faraway land, maybe, and taking everything down to Chinatown. That No Mercy one that launched over, was it last Friday?
Yeah, they think North Korea was behind that.
Yeah, that's the latest. But yeah, seeing them, just wipe out a hospital system, take down the computer system at a hospital and all the machines and scheduling and surgeries that end up falling out of way because of it.
We talked about it many times. That sort of attack is going to be so debilitating, and that's probably what's to come. That's really going to affect us. It's not going to be as much the carnage on the ground, but rather carnage in the electronic world that's just going to shut down hospitals. It's going to be incredibly inconvenient. It's going to piss people off.
And it could be years if done right before you actually get things back up working again. Because you don't, what's made clear with this stuff is you can be the biggest superpower on the planet. But if some nerd, the Dark Lord, is able to go in and zap something that wipes out infrastructure. You're talking Walking Dead, dude, because when gas lines get to be 10 miles long and they're out of gas, and when water supplies start drying up, and pussy Americans don't know how to defend themselves or keep themselves going, what am I going to do, dude? I'm going to sit here till my cat eats my face. Like, I'm not going to go out in the woods and scavenge for food.
Right.
And so that's always my fear is like, dude, and it was really eye-opening that time, I don't know what it was, 10, 15, 20 years ago, when they wiped out that plant in Ohio, and like a quarter of the country lost power for days. And that's how I see it going down. That's really honestly what I believe. So anyway, we'll see what happens with this, but it's not the first time they've done this. Orange is the New Black had their new season premiering on Netflix, and they released like 10 episodes of that early. And they're making threats now. The Dark Overlord is making threats that who's next? Ooh, it's a big game. Fox, IFC, Nat Geo, ABC. Oh, what fun we're all going to have. We're not playing games anymore. Nerds.
What a nerd.
Disney is currently
What a loser.
I know.
We're not playing games anymore.
Let Disney have its little pirate movie, okay?
Yeah.
Lay off.
And I know it's funny. I hate defending Hollywood. Hollywood is such a joke anyways. It's like, fuck them, whatever. You spent $4 billion on the movie, you deal with it. But it is something that has potential to hurt us all, They are working with the feds and said, that we're not paying. We're not paying. Watch it be a bomb anyways.
Sure.
Hey, I think it's time for our interview. Jay.
Very good.
With Amy Parnes. She'll be calling in here, and I believe we've got her on the line here. Shattered is the book inside Hillary Clinton's doomed campaign. You've probably seen her and her partner, Jonathan Allen, giving small interviews about the cable networks and the networks in general. So we're excited to talk to Amy Parnes. Hello.
Hi there, it's Amy Parnes.
Amy Parnes. Hi, it's Mike and Jay from the Detroit Cast. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Amy.
Of course. Hey, how are you?
Very well.
Congratulations on the success of your book, Shattered, Inside Hillary Clinton's Doomed Campaign, with you and Jonathan Allen writing it.
Doomed indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah. I got to tell you right out of the gate, I love the cover photo of the American flag laying on the carpet.
You're not supposed to put an American flag on the ground, Mike. Why do you love that so much?
I don't know. I think it speaks to the book, and I'm wondering, I know there had to have been other choices for book cover. What were some of the other options you guys were thinking of?
Well, we had one early on of Secretary Clinton kind of ascending a staircase, and we just wanted to see other options. So they made this one available, but those were really the only two.
Was the ascension on the staircase when you were writing a totally different book than what you ended up writing?
No, actually, it was post-election.
Was it really? Well,
yeah.
you had to have set out writing a completely different book than this. Am I right?
What's funny about the whole thing is that we were doing our reporting on this for basically 18 months, the entirety of the campaign, and my co-author and I started seeing warning signs that things weren't going so well the entire time. Of course, we both thought she would win, but what was funny about it was we were turning in drafts to our editor, early drafts of the book, and he was like, there's so much going wrong here. How are you guys going to square this when she actually does win? And that was a really good question, and we thought that it would speak to her management style if she were president, and it would show kind of her weaknesses, but we never expected this outcome, obviously.
Do you think the chapters would have been completely different, though? I mean, had she won, would it have been a much smaller role, like all the missteps that are pointed out in each chapter?
I don't think so. I think a lot of it was there before the campaign, and as I said, it would have spoken to weaknesses that she would have had all along and stuff she would have carried with her to the White House. So what was funny was that right after the election, of course, we had to go back and add some depth and do some more reporting, but the bones were there all along.
Mm-hmm. So was the campaign doomed from the start, meaning the make of it, the people she had involved, the structure of it? Do you think it was just destined to fail?
We thought so. Of course, hindsight is 20/20, but I think when you look at, we kind of make the case from the beginning that there were things that were amiss, particularly her message. If she had a big idea, a better message, she would be able to convey that a little better, and she would be able to tell people why she should be president, and that was something that she didn't really do so well, and Donald Trump ended up being a better salesman.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the team she put together, and I don't know if this is totally her fault or if it's their fault, but it was more like, it felt to me anyways, like getting a team full of all-stars that never really gel together. Like so many of her staff had their own agenda almost, or were jockeying for position instead of rallying around this woman to become president.
That's exactly right. I think that one of the big takeaways from 2008 was that her world was pretty insular and that she didn't reach outside of it to other people. And I think she tried to do that this time, and so she incorporated a lot of Obama people. Even on her speech, the speech that is her initial speech, she brings in Obama speechwriter Jon Favreau, and he's working on it, and he's frustrated by what's happening because he's not used to all these cooks in the kitchen. He's used to just working with President Obama and maybe one advisor. So I think she does, and as you say, they don't really gel together. Clinton world in and of itself is a very big universe, and the people there, their interests don't often align because you have Bill's world and Hillary's world and the foundation and the people who have worked for them along the way. And then you bring in all these other people, and you're right, they did kind of have the best of the best, and yet they couldn't quite, they couldn't work together very well.
Well, I'm curious, too, how you guys got the kind of access you did. Because when I think of Hillary Clinton, you think of someone who for decades, whether completely her fault or not, has been beat up really bad over the years in the media and doesn't seem terribly trustworthy of outside people. And, you know, for someone like Trump, I could see him just being like, for sure, write a book about me. That'll be great. It'll be the best book ever. But for Hillary, I would think she would be very, very closed off to the idea of people coming in and kind of documenting this run for her.
Yeah, and so we had written a book a few years ago called HRC, which looked at her tenure at the State Department. And so we knew a lot of the same people from that book. And John and I, my co-author, have been covering Hillary Clinton since 2008, so we knew people from way back when, too. So, yeah, I think they were, of course, they weren't entirely open to having a book being written about them, but I think a lot of them knew us from the last time and knew that we're trustworthy reporters and that we don't have an axe to grind, that we aim to tell the full story. And I think a lot of people participated originally because they thought they wanted their fingerprints on history, and they thought she was going to win, and they thought it would be a different outcome. So I don't know if people would have participated like they did had they known the outcome from the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, Amy, throughout the book, you carry on a theme of kind of this new school versus old school politics, the the Robbie Mook analytics versus the Podesta reliance on persuasion, handshaking. Bill Clinton is obviously in that latter role as well. What are the problems that came of that? Were they just unable to kind of mesh those two ideas, or are they two approaches to a campaign that just simply can't coexist?
I think they can, and I don't know why they didn't. Well, I do know one reason why they didn't, because persuasion is expensive. It takes a lot of money to persuade people, particularly someone like Hillary Clinton. So they kind of gave up on that, and they over-relied on data analytics to kind of carry them. And you're right, Bill Clinton was someone who saw the problems with that and was getting a different feel on the ground. He's someone who likes to talk to people, and so he would often spend time before and after rallies talking to people, and he was always reporting back to Brooklyn and saying something doesn't feel right here. I should be deployed to these places. Why are you just sending me to the cities? Why aren't we talking more to our base, the people who supported us in 2008? So he's really almost like an unsung hero in the book, because he realizes pretty early on what's happening, and for whatever reason they can't rectify it.
And how did Mook survive that then? Because again, he's the one who's focused on analytics.
Right.
How did he then convince them to kind of go against Bill's gut and what Bill saw happening and just stick with the plan?
I think one of the reasons why she brought him aboard was because they like evidence. She does, Secretary Clinton, and Robbie does, and they rely on it, and they want to see evidence. And I think that's why she hired him. It was a big factor. And so I think that when he was telling her all along that this was the model and this was what they were hearing and what the data had been reporting, she was inclined to believe it. And I think she saw how well it worked for President Obama in 2008 and 2012, and she was trying to emulate that model. She thought that if she worked on drawing the same people to the polls that it would work, and ultimately it didn't, because they're very different candidates. And in some ways I think she was kind of fighting the last war.
Do you think she was trying to avoid getting to, being married to an ex-president and trying to avoid that a little bit? Because I just can't wrap my head around why you wouldn't take someone who's arguably one of the best politicians as far as politicians go in Bill Clinton, why you wouldn't go with his gut more and his feeling, why you would respect the opinion of these nerds and data crunchers more than someone who'd successfully done it really well for 2 campaigns.
Yeah, and that's one question that a lot of people are trying to figure out right now. It's, in some ways I think she was trying to fight her own campaign and trust her own gut, and I think that was why she was inclined to believe the data and thought that, and they were too, their internal data was telling them something completely different. And we find out also in the last couple of weeks they aren't doing traditional polling, so they're solely relying on what this information is telling them. And so I think at the time it was, I think they both thought that it was working. And so I think in hindsight, I think they would see the problems with that right now.
The rise of Bernie Sanders and his importance in this campaign, unbelievable. Usually somebody in the primary season might serve as a sparring partner to Hillary and in the end kind of strengthen her. But instead, it became a problem through the convention and even into the general. But why was it that they were unable to, I guess, take care of him quicker, knock him out quicker?
I think, as I like to say, she was sort of the wrong candidate for this time, and you're seeing the rise in populism and the crowds growing for him and people wanting an outsider. And for whatever reason, they don't really take him seriously until December of 2015 when he starts really ticking up in the polls, and Robbie Mook's phone is blowing up, and it's Secretary Clinton, and she's calling him and wondering what's going on. But yeah, it does take them a while, and just when they feel like they've got their groove on again, he comes back and wins, particularly one state in Michigan. That kind of threw them for a loop. And she's frustrated, obviously, because she's won some states in Super Tuesday, and she feels like they can wrap this up. And he keeps hammering her for kind of being in the pocket of big banks. And I think that's an argument that ultimately hurt her going into the general and on Election Day, because you find that a lot of people never came home and never wanted to support her because they believed that narrative. They believed it so much.
Yeah.
And some of them voted for Trump and some of them stayed home. And I've talked to a lot of them in recent weeks, and they told me they just couldn't pull the trigger for her. They couldn't, for whatever reason. They were inclined to believe Bernie. And I think even we have a one scene in the book where he is cutting an ad for Secretary Clinton, and he's reading the script. And at the end of the script, it says, "I'm with her," and he stops and he tells everyone in the room, "I can't say that. That's so phony."
I can't do it.
I won't do it. Well,
but I think that says it all about where he was.
Yeah. Well, she's going so hard to try to put separation between her and Bernie and their messages, because really they were big differences in messages. And to your point, she was trying to look, different from him any way she could. And I don't think she took him seriously, like you said, for a lot of that. But do you think Bernie pushed her too far left of center when she really should have been? Because it was noticeable when she was really, really going after the minority vote and never kind of came back to the middle, which drove Bill Clinton nuts and kind of alienated the white vote.
Yeah, and I think that definitely hurt her. I mean, they were following the Obama model, and they thought that if they were bringing home African Americans and Hispanics, that they could win this thing. But they lost all the people at the same time who voted for her in 2008, and the white working class, and the people that Bill Clinton was he was talking about. And so I think when you collectively look at all of that, it was problematic for her.
Well, one of the other things that jumped out at me, and I remember this when it happened, was the New York Times story in September of 2015, and I believe it was called "Hillary Will Show More Humor and Heart," and actually had people from her campaign quoted in this article talking about, oh yeah, she's going to show her real side and her personality.
It's like they were going to reprogram the robot.
Right, and that's how it felt. I remember joking about it the next morning, like, you've got to be kidding me that they're talking about how Hillary's going to talk on Ellen about how she keeps up with the Kardashians and try to make her feel more human. And it just sounded so fake, and I don't know how they could be so out of touch with something like that.
That's the thing, and they heard from a lot of people about that, and I think we quote someone in the book who calls it an unforced error, because they knew you can't really telegraph, here comes fun Hillary.
Yeah, right.
If
She's
you're going
to dance
do
with
that,
Ellen.
You shouldn't be, right, you shouldn't be advertising that it's coming. You should just let it happen. And everyone, behind the scenes tells the story of how Hillary Clinton is really gregarious and funny, but for whatever reason, she doesn't want to let that side of her show, because I think she has been persecuted for so long, and because there's been a double standard. But yeah, it was sort of it was an unforced error, if I had to, and it's a moment that we think did some damage to her, because it showed. I mean, if I'm watching and I feel like the whole thing is contrived, I can't imagine what other people are thinking.
Mm-hmm. But isn't that part and parcel of her just never really having a message as to why she was running? It just feels like she backed into this thing, like, oh, I'm the next one. Let the coronation begin. I'm a woman. I've paid my dues, sort of thing. That's just how it all felt, and that kind of rebranding of her at that time just, to me, felt like it's just part of the whole deal.
Yeah, it felt fraudulent.
Yeah, and she had 8 years to kind of figure out why she was running, and to come up with a big idea, and to come up with a reason for people to actually believe in her and support her. And she was counting on a lot of women. She really supported. You'll recall in 2008, she didn't want to advertise the fact that she was a woman running and that this was a historic moment for her. This time around, she actually does a 180 and embraces it, and embraces what this could mean. But at the same time, all these women stay home, and particularly millennial women, who, for whatever reason, they feel like they're going to see another woman in their lifetime be president, and so they don't feel any obligation to vote for her. And I think she, for whatever reason, was counting on these people to reflect on this historic moment and to turn out in the polls for her, and that never really happened.
How much wind was taken out of that sail, do you think, by Obama's election, and that people kind of stepped forward and said, okay, we're taking this big step to be more diverse and elect a minority candidate here. How big of an effect did that have on Hillary's run as a woman then?
I think, I think she was counting on the fact that, okay, this nation actually did elect an African American, a woman is next. And you heard her talk about that. And there was some discomfort for her, and she talks about it. There's one scene in the book where she's addressing veterans, and it's an interesting moment because she acknowledges the fact that they're kind of uncomfortable with the idea of a female commander-in-chief. And so what's interesting about that moment is that it wasn't planned. She kind of went off script, which is rare for her because she usually always sticks to the script. But she felt that that was the right moment and the right time to kind of toy with that idea and to put that out there to kind of talk about the elephant in the room. And so I think that she was counting on people she knew it was uncomfortable for a lot of people, but at the same time she thought that a lot of people would turn out for her because of that moment, and she tried to make it that. I don't know how the Obama election really played into that, but I think she felt the need to make this a historic moment for herself.
How much do you think, during this campaign, when things got really ugly, with Bernie, when the Pussygate tape came out, with Trump and women and misogynists and all that stuff was playing out, there was this elephant in the room of Bill Clinton's past as well. And we started to see, the "he is a rapist" T-shirts popping up everywhere. Did that make it hard for Hillary to really go hard after Trump for his past, knowing that it would be redirected right back at her because of her husband?
I think it did on some level. I think they were always sort of worried about what Trump would lob at them. And you heard him even refer to someone who has been reported to be seeing Bill Clinton in the past, and so he was making it an issue, and they felt like every time they made it an issue, I think that he could come right back at them. But I think they were prepared for that all along, and they prepared for it in the debates. We talked to people inside who basically the guy who plays Donald Trump throws whatever it takes at her and to get her ready for that moment. And I think when you look at the debates in particular and you see the women who were brought out by the Trump campaign in that room, and you see how she handles it, she knows, they all know that it's a weird moment, but they're prepared because they've been ready for that.
Do you think Hillary's a dynamic enough person to have risen to national prominence had she not been Bill Clinton's wife?
It's funny. I think obviously going into the Senate, she was boosted by being a Clinton. But when I've been covering her, I've been covering her since 2008. You often forget, or at least I do, that she's connected to him because I think she really tried to blaze her own trail and to not be so connected to him for good and bad. And a lot of people in this cycle were crying for him to play a bigger role. I heard from donors in particular who, they wanted him because he's the better politician. He knows how to work a room. He knows what they want to hear. She kind of lacks that. And so I think she really tried to kind of separate herself from that, and for good and bad. And it hurt her in moments, and it helped her in moments.
Well, it comes so naturally to a guy like Bill Clinton, even Bernie Sanders in a way, and Donald Trump. And you see that play out, too, when Obama joins her finally on the trail. And you've got the chapter, I think it's called Too Easy, where he goes up on stage and just casually delivers this big speech,
Right.
making these attacks at Trump while kind of being loose and jokey about it, and then walks off stage and whispers to Podesta, this is too easy. And it's never looked or felt easy when watching Hillary Clinton try to pull that off.
No, in fact, it would be uncomfortable. There were moments where she would open for him, not the other way around.
Right.
Which I always found a little odd because she was the one running for president. But yeah, I think it was, and she admitted as much. She admitted that she wasn't her husband and she wasn't President Obama, and how she's not a very good candidate. And I think that's exactly right. I think she excels more when she's governing. When she's a policy mind, she likes to get into the nitty-gritty of policy, and that's more her space, I think, than actually going on the stump and talking to donors and talking to supporters. I think there's a bit of awkwardness there for her.
Hey, Amy, I want to ask you about somebody very close to Hillary. Everybody's heard of Huma Abedin, and She's,
Yeah.
of course, the person who's married to Anthony Weiner and has been a close aide of Clinton for a long time. But what really does Huma do, or did Huma do? It's sort of like shrouded in this mystery a little bit.
Yeah.
So she was the vice chair of this campaign, but was always sort of her body person, meaning she was the encyclopedia of everything Hillary Clinton needed to know and provided her with anything she needed on the road. A lot of people were questioning why she was on the road so much as vice chair, because as chairman, you didn't see John Podesta on the road with her all the time. He was back at the headquarters. But I think the reason why Secretary Clinton felt like Huma should travel with her was because she had that kind of encyclopedic knowledge of what Hillary Clinton likes and doesn't like, and could kind of serve as her mouthpiece at times when she wasn't available. And so there were some people who thought that was a good idea, and other people who, in retrospect, felt like Huma was the ultimate gatekeeper and prevented Hillary Clinton from hearing what needed to be heard, particularly on the ground in battleground states when a lot of people felt like they needed more and they weren't getting enough. And that was a source of frustration, and something we were hearing pretty early on, that, we talked to one person in particular who had an early conversation with Huma, and it never made its way up to Hillary Clinton, and this source was really frustrated. And then you hear a lot of other people throughout the campaign who are pointing fingers at her for withholding information. One example of that was when Secretary Clinton was battling pneumonia, and then she has this horrible fall on 9/11, and it causes this cascade of questions, and people are wondering what's going on. And a lot of people internally didn't know that she had pneumonia that week, and they pointed the finger at Huma for not telling them. And so that caused that larger narrative of what is Hillary Clinton hiding, and that was a narrative that was playing out less than 2 months before Election Day. So that hurt her as well.
Is that just a control issue, do you think, or what? Because that really, having the delay in the announcement that day on that September 11th service was with her fainting into the car and being caught.
That was crazy.
It was, yeah, it was.
Yeah, I know, and it fed that narrative, as I said, and a lot of people just felt like she had been clinging so hard to her access to Secretary Clinton and didn't want to let that go, and it's something you still hear now. A lot of people wonder what she's going to do next. I'm talking about Huma, because she's always, whatever she does, she always seems to kind of find herself back near Secretary Clinton.
Coattails.
And a lot of people feel like she was one reason why Secretary Clinton lost, a minor one.
Yeah.
But withholding information and guarding this access was problematic, I think.
Well, there's a lot just fluttering around Huma and rumors and so forth. That you've been close to the situation. Is there any truth to the speculation that those two are somehow romantically involved, Huma and Hillary?
No, I think it's quite laughable, and I think that she's a second daughter to her, and I've never had reason to doubt anything in that relationship. I think that it is flawed. It's a flawed relationship. I don't know why it is what it is, but no, there's no truth to that, I don't think.
Yeah. What is their relationship like now? Do you have any idea? Because that Weiner stuff really hurt her campaign. And the fainting bit we talked about really hurt her campaign. What does she hold a grudge towards Huma now? Do you have any idea?
I don't think she does, actually, and I think that's I think Huma's one of those people that she just feels great affinity toward, and I don't think that there's any. One thing that was really interesting was that when all this stuff around when Comey was reinvestigating the emails, we find out that Huma has disappeared and she's gone home, and what happened internally was that basically she goes to other senior aides and says, how do you want me to handle this? And they basically tell her to go home. So we know that that was one instance where either Secretary Clinton or other senior aides had a very big problem with her being around her, particularly in the last couple of weeks of the campaign.
Yeah, well, Going fast forwarding to the convention, the DNC, and the big 4-day rally to announce her there, Bernie supporters were not going away. And I found it interesting how they chose to deal with that, with them shouting down and chanting, for Bernie and all that kind of stuff. What did they do to try to combat some of that?
So it's a really interesting story, but we document in the book how they set up the Hillary camp and the Bernie camp get together, and they set up this elaborate texting system within the arena. So whenever someone is causing, or whenever someone is shouting for Bernie or causing, shouting something anti-Hillary, they work together to kind of combat that and to mask it in some way. So whenever you heard shouting over those people or shouting of USA, it was often to mask what was happening in the arena. The same thing with the American flags. As Secretary Clinton spoke that night and accepted the nomination, it looked really nice on TV. It looked really patriotic. It almost looked like a Republican National Convention.
Right.
So you're seeing lots of people waving flags, and it seems like this really heartwarming moment, but ultimately you find out that it's being done to also mask what's happening on the floor. And a lot of people are annoyed because this is all playing out as she's delivering her speech. And so it's messing up the cadence of the speech, and they think that she still handles it well, but they're annoyed about that. But it's interesting because Robbie Mook, someone comes up to him after the convention and says, "Oh, everything looked great." And he kind of says, "Oh, it looked great, but if only they knew what was happening behind the scenes. It didn't look pretty behind the scenes."
Well, with all these things going awry during the process, it would seem like it would be, some of these deals would be a prime target for some of those famous Hillary tirades that we've heard about. And these nasty things where phones are thrown and so forth. And I don't know how much of that is truth or not.
Lamp to Bill's head.
Lamp to Bill's head. But it didn't appear that was her reaction during this process. Why do you think that was?
I think there are moments, and we document some of them in the book, particularly on the heels of Michigan, the Michigan primary. She has a pretty epic blow-up at her staff before a debate that night in Miami. She basically accuses them of not getting the message through and wants to know what's happening and why that's not happening.
But that seems like a legitimate bitch, Amy. You know what I mean? Like, that seems like a legitimate thing that someone running, as the head of a campaign would be. I mean, I think Jay and I are talking about, for years, we've heard stories about lamp to the head of Bill.
Secret Service guys writing tell-alls and things like that.
Yes, and being just how wouldn't look at him, tell him to get the fuck out of the way. Like, she was just nasty. The stories, and again, we don't know if any of these are totally true or totally made up, but the one when she's in the governor's mansion and they're doing the Easter egg roll, and she's like, and they've got special needs kids over, and she's overheard saying, "When are we going to get these retards off the lawn?" Like, those kind of moments, we were kind of expecting there would be some of those in the book, and none of them were.
No, there aren't many in the book. I mean, we have some where there's another phone call where she and her husband are also going off on her aides, and they're this is over the whole email controversy, and they're kind of complaining about why their economic message hasn't gotten through, and they're like, "Why isn't this happening?" And this is, this is after 6 months of this email lingering over her campaign by her own doing, by the way. She was the one who decided to use a private server and a private email. James Comey, a lot of people forget, wouldn't have been involved had she not set up the email server.
And it wouldn't have gone as far as it did if she doesn't, if Loretta Lynch doesn't meet with Bill on the tarmac.
That too. Yeah.
It's all self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah, and people forget about these moments. They think, okay, we often hear now, okay, it's James Comey's fault, it's Russia's fault. And my co-author and I have always said, yes, but it's all these other things. It's all these other moments collectively. If she only won by, of course she won, she lost by 80,000 or less than 80,000 votes. Any factor could have made a difference here. If she would have campaigned a little more in Michigan or Wisconsin, that could have made a difference. It's all of these things together.
Do you think in her heart of...
Also, by the way, people expected her to win by so much more. They expected her to blow him out of the water. She had everything going in her favor.
Do you think in her heart of hearts she knows that she's to blame for some of those issues that you just mentioned, or do you think it's just one of these personality things where she just can't accept that it's somebody else's fault?
I found it really interesting to hear her a couple of weeks ago acknowledge the fact that she does accept responsibility and that she was
Yeah,
the candidate.
but it's
Sort of,
Russia and
sort of.
Comey's fault.
Yeah. Right. But
Right.
that was more than I was actually expecting that day, because she's never, ever come as far as saying, yes, I am the candidate, I was the candidate. And I think she was obviously speaking about our book, but
Yeah.
and all the flaws we point out. But I think, I was surprised to hear it, and I think she could have come a little farther and admitted some of the bigger mistakes that her campaign had made. I don't expect her to say as much, though.
Yeah, there's something about being gracious in that moment that she seems to lack, because like Jay said, she gives that speech where it's like, yeah, I take full responsibility, but, and then rattles off all these reasons why it's not really her fault. And I think that's a turnoff for people.
Yeah, and it's why people don't like Hillary Clinton, the politician, and why
Right.
they prefer her when she's not in the political spotlight. And we saw that coming. When she was Secretary of State, her her approval ratings were really high, and a lot of people internally were kind of warning her and saying, yeah, as soon as you pop back into the political spotlight, it's going to change, and it did. And I'm curious to see what happens now, because she still wants to be part of the resistance and still wants to be an active part of politics. I don't think she's going to run again, but I think she definitely wants to be out there and championing this cause. So I think
We haven't
I'm
seen the
curious
last
to
of her?
see what happens. No, I think that I don't think she's going to run again for sure. I can almost bet money on that, but I think we're still going to be hearing more from her, and the last couple of weeks are proof of that, I think.
Well, lastly, I'm assuming you were around the party on election night, and I remember Jay and I were texting and talking on the phone that night, because we all assumed, like everybody else, that she was going to run away in a landslide with as flawed as Donald Trump was. What was that night like to be around those people, and how soon did you realize, like, oh my God, this is really happening right now?
Well, I was at the Javits Center where she was expected to come out and talk, and never did. And the mood had shifted dramatically that night. And at the beginning of the night, I think people were preparing to shatter the glass ceiling, and that's why they have it at that venue. But yeah, you see a dramatic shift by 9 o'clock when it was almost surreal. Just lots of people standing in the room looking at TV screens. And knowing that things don't look good, and then people by the dozens just flooding out by 10 and 11 o'clock because they're expecting that it's not going well, and that she's going to lose. But we do this great TikTok inside her hotel room, and we interviewed a lot of people in that room who describe how it all goes down that night. And I think that's probably one of the most interesting parts of the book, because it's never been talked about, and you kind of see it play for play, what's happening. And I think the moment I knew it was over was when I was talking internally to someone pretty high up in the campaign who said that they never saw this coming, and this was around 10:30 or 11 o'clock that night, a few hours before it was called ultimately. And I thought that's when it wasn't looking good. But
Florida was big too.
Yeah,
Florida was
yeah.
like, oh my God, what's going on
Yeah,
here?
that's when they knew. I think Bill Clinton starts calling, as we report in the book, starts talking to a friend down in Florida, a longtime advisor, and his friend is
Scheduled to
in the
fly
beginning
up.
telling him that things are going well, but then it sort of lights out that they're not. Things are going downhill. And then Robbie Mook at the same time is telling Secretary Clinton to hold on to hope in North Carolina and Pennsylvania. And when they see those two states fold, they kind of know that things aren't going as planned.
Well, her plan to shatter a glass ceiling didn't go off as she'd hoped, but she was successful, at least in part, in shattering one thing, and that's the country right now. It's amazing to me that 4 months after this election, I've never seen the country in such turmoil like this. I'm not blaming Hillary for that. I just mean the campaign in general. And it's a fascinating look behind the scenes. The book is Shattered: Inside Hillary Clinton's Doomed Campaign by Jonathan Allen and Amy Parnes. And Amy, thank you so much for giving us so much time today to talk about it.
Thanks a lot, Amy.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, good luck with it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
The Detroit Cast continues after this short break.
During this break from Mike and Jay's hard-hitting analysis of the latest stories about dead babies or strangely shaped tumors out of India, I want to encourage you to contact Brent Wasik about insurance. Yeah, I know, auto, home, and life insurance isn't as exciting as the latest TOEIC, but it's important that you have the insurance coverages you need at the lowest possible price. Call Brent today at 734-455-1900 for a free quote. Brent's been in the insurance business 29 years, almost as long as Big E has resided in his poor parents' basement. And he's affiliated with tons of insurance companies, so he can shop for the very best prices. Call Brent today, 734-455-1900.
Hey, it's Steve Gabarra, the general manager at Zott Ford and Holly and DealsInTheD.com. I have one word for you. Trucks, trucks, trucks. Almost 150. That's how many Zott Ford has available. Yeah, I know, that's way more than one word, but who's counting? More excitingly, lease a new 17 Ford F-150 for just $199 a month. Yes, the #1 selling truck on the planet can be yours for under $200 a month, and you have almost 150 to choose from. Only from your friends at Zott Ford and DealsInTheD.com.
Detroitcast continues now, bitches. Here's Mike and Jay.
Welcome back to the Detroitcast. Mike and Jay. Sorry I'm laughing. It's still so weird to me when we've just been trained now around here. When someone sneezes, nobody says a thing.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Did you sneeze?
No.
I didn't even notice.
He did.
Oh.
Like right when he hit the music, it was just like, and none of us even blinked. It's like,
I don't even hear sneezes anymore.
Like, dude,
What do you want me to do about it?
Nothing.
It's only weird to me when I'm in a setting where it's like an elevator or something where it's just like really quiet, and especially if it's just me and them, and you know they're expecting it, and I'm just.
Yeah, I find that the hardest one. That's the hardest one when you're in a spot where it's just you and someone else, and they're
Resist.
like,
it means nothing.
And you're like,
they should be apologizing to you.
Right. I haven't
What a
given
weird
this-
bodily function. They're just like exploding on you. Like you have to then take care of that somehow? That's on you now?
Yeah.
No.
well, you're supposed to just say bless you or gesundheit
No,
or
no, no.
God bless you. You're clearly dying. You expel innards of yourself all over everyone. But I notice like it becomes clear when I'm anywhere but this room. Like if I'm in this room, that's the reaction.
Yeah.
And crickets. I mean crickets. We don't even look up and glance at each other like, not if
I honestly didn't even hear it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't
Well,
even
you've heard it
affect-
plenty of times
Yeah.
and ignored it. Your reaction is very much the same when you hear it, whether you hear it or not. But when I'm out like at Beth's family or out in public and you hear it, it's just like immediately 10 people go, oh, God bless you, or ooh, gesundheit.
Yeah, what are they reacting to? What is that?
I don't know. It's just it's
weird.
a politically polite,
Strange social.
thing that we've all
Greasing.
agreed to do. But you really took the liberty on that one and
Fuck that one.
and took the front of that one and just said, no, I'm out. I'm not
Done.
doing it. Did you ever used to, by the way?
I don't know.
Did you remember a time
When you're a little
played?
kid, you don't do that, right?
No,
You
if
don't
you're a little
bless
kid,
people.
you're more likely to go ew or
Yeah.
something like
No,
that. Get out of my arm.
I'm not saying I've never uttered the words, but I don't remember ever doing it.
Yeah.
I do think whenever we like a few years ago when they made the big change to tell us like all to go into our elbow,
crook of your arm,
as
yeah.
opposed to your hands, dude. That makes so much sense. I can't believe it took that long for people to think like we were all doing just this.
Yeah.
And then
And,
just kinda
let me get the door for you.
yeah, let me just get. Oh, just a second here. Shh.
Well, I think I'm running into some problems because I think Beth gets irritated by it. Like, you know what, asshole? I know that's a cute thing on the show, but you could say bless you or something. Like, she doesn't say that. She doesn't say that, but that's just the feeling I get. Like, you know what?
It's a red flag, Mike.
You think so?
You shouldn't be so concerned about that. That's
Yeah.
a huge red flag. Oh, Beth.
Would that be considered a huge red flag?
I would-
as far as relationships go in general?
Hey, the Hamlin Pub supports the Detroit Cast, so let's make it a point to support them. With locations in Rochester Hills, Clarkston, Chesterfield, and 2 in Shelby Township, you know there's one near you. The Hamlin Pubs have great food, ice-cold drinks, tons of craft beers, plasma TVs, games, and great entertainment. Come on by or book your reservation today at hamlinpubs.com.
Looking forward. We're going to have another event there coming up before too long. We're kind of mulling over some ideas.
Yeah.
Maybe bring someone to town.
Sure.
Do something fun. So we'll give you details as we go forward on that. There's talk of possibly a hot dog eating contest that we would be a part of. So we'll see. Or maybe E would be a part of.
You would
Enjoy
definitely be a
hot
part
dog
of
or
it.
two in my day.
Dude, that would
Although
be
I
so
just kinda
funny.
stopped
Would you
my-
try, E? Would you try to, like, kick
Yes.
ass?
Dude, I don't ever like to
plays
lose.
to win.
Right. You got to go big or go home. No, of course
Yeah, but
I
you're
would.
not good in pressure moments.
I
so
understand it, but I would try. It doesn't mean I would. It doesn't mean I wouldn't finish last, but it doesn't mean I would. I would never. If I did something like that and said, "Okay, we're going to do a hot dog eating contest," there's 10 of us.
What if the rules were just you need to make these hot dogs disappear inside your body? We don't care how or where. Would you consider using your anus?
No.
You
Dude, what if
play
it-
to win.
What if
right?
it could
We're
guarantee
just
you a
told that.
win? Two hot dogs, full length hot dogs into the news. Guarantees a
That's
win.
not going
You're
to
down by
guarantee a win.
2.
That's
The
not
seconds
gonna
are
guarantee
clicking
a win.
off.
There is no scenario where that's going to be.
I just explained
He
it to
just
you.
said a scenario.
All you have to do is eliminate those hot dogs inside of your body. It doesn't matter how or where.
Why don't I just put
You're
them in my
down by
mouth?
2.
Why wouldn't that
Why
count,
wouldn't I
by
just
the
go in
way?
my mouth?
I don't
then?
know.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I
Why
mean,
don't
you're,
I just put them in my mouth then? Why?
Well,
would I-
you've already
mouth's
stuffed
already
as much as you
filled.
can. You're about to puke.
you've got the equivalent of 8 dicks in your mouth.
You're
I
down
mean,
by 2. You've got 3 hot dogs in your hand. You just Just start
I'm
jamming.
not willing to go that far.
And
I guess.
Kobayashi's vomiting. He's out. It's just you and him, but he's up by 2.
I'm not
and it's
willing
like
to go that
10,
far.
9.
Chestnut's gaining
8,
on you.
7.
What do you do, E?
6. Fuck, dude. 5, 4.
Then I just
think
lose. I'm not putting them on my
what kind of
ass.
attitude is
yeah, it's a
that?
terrible attitude.
Not putting them up my ass.
Defeatist attitude before you've even taken the field. E.
You know what's funny? Like I used to love hot dogs, and I actually still do. Is the problem? But I really have backed off eating them lately. Like I eat them at the Tiger games and stuff.
Yeah.
But I used to eat them way more
You
often.
mustard guy or ketchup, E?
I would ketchup and mustard. Actually,
Dude,
what I
people
like to-
freak out about that.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Like, I used to be ketchup mustard guy, never anything else. Ketchup mustard. I remember relish occasionally as a kid.
onions.
Dude, I am 100% mustard onion guy now. Is that what you are?
I'm mustard exclusively.
Heavy mustard?
Heavy mustard.
I like heavy mustard as well. It's got to be those white diced onions.
I don't do the onion. They make me stink.
Yeah, well,
They make me smell.
Well, I
I'm
love
okay
the
with
onions on 'em
stinksing
for
because
sure,
they're
but-
so good.
Right.
Although you can't discount a good chili dog, too.
Yeah, you can.
Really?
Yes.
By the way, I'm assuming you don't eat human hot dogs. You probably eat turkey dogs. Are you a turkey dog guy?
Never eaten a human hot dog.
Well, what most humans would consider hot dogs.
Oh, I like the beef dog.
Do you?
Sure.
I've been thinking that. I've never tried, I don't think anyways, a turkey dog. And I'm thinking about going there because I
Turkey dogs
really...
can be good. I've been loading up my hot dog lately, though. You mentioned the onions. I stay away from the onions, but I've been doing the lettuce and tomato and stuff like that.
Chicago style.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
What
dig
made
that.
you dip into
I
that
just needed
world?
more. I just
Yeah.
needed more on there.
That is why when you go to Comerica, like I don't even get the hot dogs as much anymore because for like $2 extra, you get the Polar sausage and they freaking load the green pepper, onion, and
Yeah,
I know
it's
you don't
good.
like the onion, I guess, but
It's a bigger meal.
But they just put so much
A
more on
meal.
it. Exactly.
It's a meeting.
Meeting? I said a meal.
Hey, Mike, at the break, I drew a name, a listener name.
You did.
A member listener name for my copy of Shattered. Mm-hmm. So you can have this thing. I'm gonna mail it out to you, or better stated, E is gonna mail this out to you.
Sure.
Tom Jazwiak, member. Thank you for your memberage. And one of the things you get as a Nana member or a champion member is you are put into drawings of TDC Originals. And so this is a TDC Original. You're getting my book along with me and Miguel's notes for that interview. So enjoy. It's a good book for sure.
Yeah.
And I would encourage those who are going to go out and buy that book, please buy it through our Amazon link.
Yes.
On our homepage, you will see above the fold a link to Amazon. It's a great way to support us. Just shop through that. And all of these books that we do are through, you can get them through Amazon. So please make sure if you are buying them, you're using our link.
And your book is the good one to give to a listener. I tend to do like highlighting in my books, but I save my note taking exclusively for my notes of questions, and I just jot down anything I think is important. It doesn't mean we're going to ask all those questions, but any little thing I want to remember later, I jot it down. But you tend to take personal shots at people.
Sometimes.
in the book, which I love. I love flipping through yours because you'll have
I screamed at Huma that she was a lesbo.
at one
Lesbo
point.
exclamation. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of times, Jay's is funny. Like, whoever got the Prince book, if we sent him your copy, would get, ha, 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 dork, with an exclamation point at any weirdo thing Prince would do.
Yeah, or wee wisp of a man.
Yeah.
Just a little wisp of a man.
You really get a unique insight into Jay's mind, the way it works, and how he feels about people with what they're doing with their lives and their existences, because he calls a lot of people dorks or homos.
Fucking loser.
Weirdo.
Yeah.
I love that one when you just see weirdo with an arrow pointing to an underlined line in the book of something they've done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot.
A lot of judgment going on, but it's pretty funny.
And you know how you can
whoever's
get
getting
those.
shattered, I'm assuming we'll get the same type
Get a
of
few of those, yeah.
thing.
You know how you can get those? You got to be a member to get those opportunities. You can't just, these aren't just for everybody.
DetroitCast.com, you will see a members area tab, and if you go under there, there's membership levels, and one of them will fit your budget for sure.
Dude, you guys like going to the grocery store? Big
I
fans.
actually love it. I like shopping.
Don't like going to the grocery store. I like the result of having gone to the grocery
Yeah.
store, having a stocked fridge and pantry.
Yeah.
But going, I got to admit, sucks ass, Mike.
I would agree with that. How weird would it be? I don't know if it'd be cool or weird to have this story in your repertoire. Your repertoire. Is it repertoire or repertoire?
I would say repertoire,
I think I would say repertoire.
just as I would say foyer. Scenario.
You know,
I think I say repertoire. Have I been sounding stupid for doing that? Maybe
No.
I have.
It's
Repertoire.
okay to change now.
Repertoire. Well, if you're just going through your day, and it sounds like kind of one of those, not Kroger or Meijer, but this like little,
Like a Hollywood market or something.
yeah, something cool like a Trader Joe's or something like that. It's some orchard market, that
Gotcha.
this guy is in. And so people are just out doing their shopping. And on Mother's Day, this dude walks in with his mom's head in his hand and walks in and stabs one of the guys working there, a little gray-haired man named Mike,
Like he's just holding it like Medusa's head.
I guess.
Like he just slaughtered Medusa.
Yeah.
He just like walks in like, hey.
On Mother's Day, dude, of all times to cut your mom's head off, too. Doesn't that seem like way over the line? Like, dude, whatever. If you got to cut your mom's head off, fine. But do we have to do it on her day?
That's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
By definition, that's crazy.
What would you do? I mean,
By definition.
well, look at this guy. If I birthed a kid, and I know that would be hard, but if I did and his one eye was doing that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
He's a tale of two sides of the face. You know?
Yeah.
Cover up one side, cover up the other. He's a totally different dude.
is this a case also of someone whose facial features are too shrunken into the face?
See again. Yeah, a little bit like Gonzo from the Muppet Show.
Yeah, there was
sort of
another
beak
story
like.
we had recently where it was like,
He's kind of the Sean Penn face.
Yeah.
Where everything's like, yeah.
it's like if you pinch the screen and just made just the eyeballs, mouth, and nose smaller on the face than it should
I
be.
feel you.
Yeah, there he is. And I don't like what's going on with that eye. I really don't.
No.
I think he stabbed his mom's eye too. Maybe he blamed her for that.
Cannot trust that eye.
Yeah. But yeah, he went into the grocery store with mom's head, and then I'm wondering what people would do. Like my instinct would be to go, ah, and then like make a dart for the back of the store. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be hard not to.
But some people, once he stabbed poor Mike, and Mike's down, rolling around
Like
out
just
of
like the
nowhere.
bagger guy.
Well, he's gray haired and he's been there for 20 years. And
He's wearing
he's
a
beloved.
smock for sure.
Yeah. Probably doing one of those, welcome to Orchard
Yeah,
Market,
Just
friend.
handing out circulars like, yeah, here's our sales today.
Yeah. He's the guy you want checking you out because he's been there so long. He's quick. He doesn't bag your bread with your steaks on top of it and apples on top of it. He just knows how to do his thing. And all of a sudden he's got a knife in him. And some good Samaritans tackled this motherfucker. And my immediate thought was, what happened to the head? Like,
Yeah.
I mean-
yeah, that's the whole story. Where's the head?
yeah. And I don't know. I don't have an answer. They didn't really explain that.
What kind of reporting is this?
But there's blood everywhere, and he gets stuck. And I'm picturing like a running back getting blindsided, which causes a fumble a lot. And if this guy's not used to carrying the rock,
Yeah, right in the crook of that arm.
yeah,
You know?
I mean, he gets laid out, and I don't know who laid him out.
Is he nearest the right sideline?
I don't
He ought to
know.
have it in his right hand. As he goes across the middle of the field, we're going to switch into the left. Keep it nearest the left sideline.
Yeah, keep it protected.
Is he going through the line? Is he up? Is he on the top and bottom of the head?
Well, that's what you got.
Or is he just doing a Medusa?
yeah, or doing a Leon Lett and celebrating his recent stabbing.
His palm in it.
And then some guy comes in and Don Beebe's that shit right out of his hands.
You could do that just with 2 fingers above the roof of the mouth.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Which
That's
I would-
probably a pretty powerful way to carry a human head.
No, you're way off base here. I would say that if it was Louis C.K.'s head, where you don't have a hair to grab. But with a mom, I would think
We've seen moms with short hair or no hair.
not that often, though. Usually moms, and it doesn't need to be like ass length. She's not a Crystal Gale in it, but if he's just got a nice handful of that, I suppose
Yeah.
it could rip out. The teeth thing, I would worry that at some point in
No,
the
that wait,
transaction-
go back to the hair ripping out. I think that's a concern because I think human heads are like 6 to 8 pounds.
Yeah.
Not 68, 6 to 8 E.
Right.
So don't start Googling.
Did you learn that from Jerry Maguire? Is that what we're all...
Bees can smell fear too.
That's right.
No, I think so. So if you're talking about holding strands of hair, I think you go under the front jaw.
Wouldn't you be worried if you got hit in any sort of way on the head that now you're risking biting your own fingers off, though?
That's true.
That would be my whole concern. Otherwise, I'm with you.
2 finger to the nostril,
All right. That's not bad. That's not bad.
2 to the eye socket, thumb to the mouth.
Yeah. But if
Bowling
you're...
ball? I mean, that's how you're describing it to me.
Yeah.
But if you're in the... let's say you're in that... what's on the end aisles? Is that usually like...
The end caps?
The cheese... No, I mean like you've got aisle 1,
Oh,
2,
sure.
3.
You've got dairy on one side.
Yeah. So if you're in the dairy aisle and you see like what's going on over there? Why is Mike screaming bloody murder over there? And then you look up and you see this guy getting smashed,
Dude.
and the head goes rolling like a fumble. What is your reaction? Do you run away from the head?
Well,
Do
if
you,
you're a trained football player, you dive on the ball.
I mean, would you yell ball, ball? like they're supposed to when a fumble happens?
Yeah.
So they're all questions that are not answered, but I'd love an answer to. The guy
God, I'd
we're
be hard pressed to be a good Samaritan in that instance. You know, a guy with blood all over him, carrying a head, like, just to be coming in contact with that guy. Maybe at most a leg sweep. I don't know. I don't know if I could tackle a guy like that.
I don't know. I think of all the people in the room, there's the best chances to run into you in the store of us. I think if anyone is going to be going to a rage and like stick a dude, it would be you.
I would agree with you, but I'm telling you, in this instance, I might be grossed out.
Yeah.
I might be running for the back door.
His name is Joshua Webb, and they pinned him down and held him down until the police got there. Again, I don't know if he still had the head. I'm assuming it trickled off somewhere, and I don't know if anyone picked it up and went, "Ooh, you dropped your head."
Took it the other way.
Yeah.
For 6.
For 6 into the beer aisle. I don't know. But they held him down, and the only thing he said was, "Oh, man, I'm thirsty." And so I don't know if anyone got him a glass of water or anything else, but that was apparently what he said. And then there was a report that
Some
house
real holes in this story, man.
Agreed. Someone reported that they found a headless body in a house down the way, and last thing the cops were quoted as saying the two might be related.
Might be.
Yeah, and I was thinking, boy, that's a stretch. You don't want to go off half loaded with information, but
big assumption.
Yeah,
Well,
Josh
they must have some evidence we don't.
Yeah, you think? Anyway, yeah, poor mom. Oh, imagine that.
Like you said, on
scene inside
Mother's
the house.
Day.
I know. And then why the grocery store and why the stabbing of Mike? So many holes in this story. Anyway, he's in a hospital now, Mr. Josh Webb, because
Till then, he was walking amongst us.
Yeah.
Think of that. A guy capable of that. Just sauntering about.
Have we heard more stories recently of people walking around with heads? It seems like in
It's
the
been a
last
while,
few
it feels
years.
like to me. There was that one on Halloween or something, right?
Yes. Oh, where they thought it was a prop.
Yeah.
Which is, you know,
One would
why-
be
why
prone to
wouldn't
do.
you? We had that Russian lady, remember, that cut off that kid's head and was walking down
Absolutely.
the street.
Yep.
There was someone else that did it
It's almost
too,
like
where
a cat finding a bird and wanting to show its owner.
Yeah.
I mean, if you cut a head off, I think there's a tendency to want to show people.
Really? God, that's so weird. There was another one too where someone was kicking it in the street and kids thought it was a game or
remember that.
something. That might have been
That
around
was
Halloween.
years ago.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too often for my liking, to be honest with you. I don't think the cutting off of the head is a thing we should continue doing. Really don't.
As you know, one of the best ways to support the Detroit Cast is to support the sponsors that support us. So, if you want the best deal and the finest experience on the planet, drag your sorry ass to Zott Ford right now. New or pre-owned, car, truck, or SUV. Purchase or lease, you want it, you got it, at the very best price possible, only at Zott Ford and dealsinthed.com.
How we doing for email?
We do have some email. I'm a little dry on postcards the last couple days.
Really?
Gotta admit, if anybody wants to send me some posts.
Oh, what a shame that
Radio
is.
for One Studios, P.O. Box
What a shame.
250268, Franklin, Michigan 48025. And I suspect with the summer months coming, Mike,
Yeah.
I might get a few postcards.
You're counting on vacation postcards,
I
aren't you?
am indeed.
Yeah. Is there any particular place in the world that you're like, God, I can't wait to get one from Guam or something, or I can't wait to get something from the Bahamas, or
No, nothing in particular.
or do you like the historic ones? Are you more of a
I like,
fan
I
of
like
the?
to have a factoid on there. I like
Yeah.
that. You have some dam or something like, oh, this dam
Yeah.
spans whatever number of feet. And
So a string of like bikini broads in Myrtle Beach is fine. If on the back it says like, well, little known fact, Myrtle Beach stretches 26.7
yeah,
miles.
I need a fact.
Yeah.
Because I want to convey those facts to all of you.
Yeah. And if I could make a slight recommendation, I would say envelope your postcard and send it. Otherwise, you know,
Stamped right over the
Damn
factoid.
stamped every fucking time.
Scott writes in, please take the mic from Big E. Oh, boy. E, you ready for this one?
Sorry, no one asked sooner. That's no problem.
Guys,
There we
I
go.
can't take it anymore. Please shut Big E up. I'm sorry, but this is not good radio. I can't believe Walters thinks spending the first 30 to 40 minutes of every show with E rambling on is interesting to anyone. Please shut him up, Scott.
It seems more like a Walters problem than a Mike problem.
Yeah, but if you need to be gooder, E, that's the overall takeaway. If you would just be gooder and more entertaining, then we wouldn't have this problem.
Mike is giving you enough rope, you know? It's enough rope to succeed or to hang yourself.
And he keeps hanging himself, but not quite to death.
Yeah. It's like that umbilical cord.
Mm-hmm.
If only.
Yeah.
Nate writes in, Jay, these 15-year-old Eric tapes are truly the biggest onion peeling since the diary reads. I would like to point out that the sports theme song from the very beginning of the tape, so that's E going, da, 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 is a direct ripoff of the NCAA on NBC classic
Whoa.
college basketball theme song. Nate.
What a revelation he came up with. You know why that is? Honestly?
I thought it was
I didn't hear
ESPN.
it.
Was it?
No, it definitely
yeah,
was. It definitely was CBS.
I thought it was Sports Center, but you're right. It was CBS's
You know
basketball
why
theme.
that directly is because
Here comes Eric Fady, or whatever. How did your song go?
I don't remember anymore. But the reason for the humming of the CBS song directly relates to the fact that these were always on Easter, which were the sort of March Madness and the Final Four would be going on around then. So I would always have that in my head, and I used to love watching the tournament and hearing that CBS song. So that's absolutely why that's like that.
Okay. Jay writes in, not me, but a different Jay, concerning Korean missers.
What?
Missers.
Okay.
Gentlemen in need, I'm glad that fucktard can waste time Googling about the damn moon while the bigger issue remains unsolved. So yesterday we had an issue where you reported that
missers.
Korea launched a misser
Ballistic misser.
that apparently, according to your report, went 1,300 miles in the air,
Right.
which we knew was too high.
No, we did not know that was too high. You just guessed it was too high.
I knew in my very gut that 1,300 miles was too high for a misser to go.
Dude, you thought the moon was like 200 miles away or something.
I didn't say that. I said,
You said
what, is the
something
guy
retarded.
shooting for the moon?
Yeah, well, we know cows can jump over it successfully.
It is cheese. No, dude, I'm not on board with this idea that we thought 1,300 miles was an okay height for a misser to go, okay?
I was reading the story and I pointed it out to you. Here's what it says.
Yeah.
Here's
and
what
I
it
was
says.
Like, dude,
It said
that sounds too high.
You were trying to.
I think I even stated like an airline goes like 6 miles in the air.
Yeah.
So if we're talking 1,300, think about that.
It's
But here's Jay's point. Jay's point is instead of checking out how far the damn moon is, what E should have done is just do a simple Google search concerning, I don't know, how high a missile can go
Yeah.
and how high fucking space is. There's no fucking way that anyone fired missiles 1,300 miles up in the air, says Jay. The Earth's atmosphere is only like 300 miles thick. Do the math there. I'm disappointed that none of you looked further into that. Shame. Shame on all your houses. Thoughts and prayers, Jay.
Well, how are we getting to Mars then? It's more than 300 miles away. We're sending a missile up there, right? We can send a
No, it's
missile.
a rocket.
It's a rocket ship.
Doesn't a missile have a rocket boost? Isn't that the point that takes it into orbit?
Yeah, but not quite the same.
And you guys are missing the point. Jay thinks, well, it needs to be on a lower trajectory, like throwing a baseball. Yeah, when you're playing ball with your friends, sometimes you do that thing where you throw it up as high as you can.
Pop up!
Yeah, you do the pop-up game. Oon was clearly doing...
400!
He was
And
clearly
everybody
doing...
tackles each other trying to catch it.
Yeah, I love that game.
Yeah.
I would always hope he yelled 400.
Yeah.
You know, if we did one here.
What was the total? 500?
500, I believe, yeah. And you would call
But
out...
you could call out any
250.
sum. Yeah, you could be like, 1.
Yeah.
Well, then there's Dead or Alive.
What's that, E?
Smear the Queer. You probably played a ton of
you
Smear
can
the
say
Queer,
300 Dead or Alive. And
What's Dead or Alive?
Dead or Alive means you don't have to catch it in the air. It just literally means whoever gets the ball at the end.
Oh, shit.
I didn't know
You
that.
didn't have Dead
Never
or
heard of
See,
Alive.
that must have been introduced to your group of friends who
Maybe.
can't catch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we could all catch, so that
Well,
wasn't
that-
like...
That's not what it was for. It was for the
No,
hope
it sounds like it's
no.
kinda
It was
like
for
a
the hope that some.
fallback.
No, fuck
No,
you.
that's a fallback. If you're
That's
just
a
catching
fallback.
them,
Yeah, it is.
then you don't even have to introduce
sure.
the Dead or Alive.
Yeah.
No, the hope is that
Dude, that's like
someone's going
training
to
wheels
catch
on a
it, and then
bike.
you tackle them while they're catching it, making them drop the ball. It was more.
Sounds like to me like it's dropping 9 times out of 10 because
Yeah.
you sons of bitches can't catch, and so you had to come up with a rule to account for that.
Dude, that article clearly said 1,300 miles. It did not say kilometer miles. It said miles.
I think Jay's point is we have to like think on our own, which I don't know. We can throw that around the horn if we think that's cool or not, if we
Yeah.
think we need to do that. But I think what he was saying is, guys, gentlemen, think for a second. 1,300 miles? I think someone else sent me something like, yeah, dude, the space station's like 250 miles from Earth.
All right, then it went up like way past the space station. Now, I did Google this afterwards.
Mike,
and
are you seriously picturing ballistic missiles in space?
I thought they do get into an orbit, and then the rocket fires them down until they get back into the atmosphere.
All right,
thought
maybe,
that's what...
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. I don't know shit either. But in the thing, I did what I
What does
did
a
find
cruise
was
missile do in your mind? What is it?
Fucking cruises, man. I mean, it is like it's one of those things that it does exactly what it says. And when they mean
But how
cruise
high does
missile,
that go? Like, what are you picturing? Because I'm just picturing a couple miles up at most for
Okay.
a cruise missile. At most.
Well, I Googled ballistic missile. How high does a ballistic missile go? And they said that it goes 750 miles into the air. And that's on a normal trajectory.
What makes a
That's
ballistic
normal
missile different than a cruise missile?
Well, one's cruising and one's ballisticking. That's the difference. And that's what you got to get your head
Oh, I
around.
gotcha.
And so he wasn't doing a normal trajectory, which they said was 750 miles. And here might have been the difference, which was 1,200 kilometers. And so it's possible the article meant 1,300 kilometers, but said 1,200 miles.
Faulty reporting.
And I kept pointing to that like it was factual. I'm going, dude, I don't know. But if these guys are saying that ballistic missiles don't go hundreds of miles into the air, it sounds like they're wrong. I mean, if Wikipedia is to be believed, and I believe it is to be believed, it said 750 miles.
You probably went in and changed it yesterday.
It's possible, but I didn't.
No, Jay doesn't go out and tell us how high up he believes a ballistic missile goes, but he's just like, there's no fucking way it went 1,300 miles.
Oh, okay, great, smarty pants. Then why didn't you do a 5-second Google search, genius, and send us the Wikipedia link and go, guys, it's right here. It's simple. It says it goes blah, blah, blah miles.
Because you
You're
know
all
as well as I
retards.
do, we both would have rejected Wikipedia out of hand.
Maybe.
We'd have been like, oh, it's Wikipedia. He probably changed it.
Yeah.
To suit his argument.
Preemptively changed it. He knew Jay was going to have a problem with the whole 1,300 miles thing.
Jay continues. P.S. I submitted an entry for Crayola's new blue crayon. Get this. Shatner's wife. Fingers crossed, says Jay.
Dude. My blue wife's at the bottom of the pool. That would be hilarious. Could you imagine if they went, ooh, that's just got a nice ring to it. Shatner's wife blue. I wonder how many people would get that if on the Crayola box it had Shatner's wife blue.
Shit. Jim writes in concerning taking out Kim Jong-un, King, cult, and lighthouse boy. I agree with Jay that taking out Kim Jong-un will have to be done, but it comes at great cost. This is no Afghanistan or Iraq. North Korea has been preparing for war with us and South Korea for over 64 years. They are well dug in with tunnels and enough conventional weapons to take out South Korea's capital, Seoul, in 1 hour, which is 25 million people and is only 35 miles away from North Korea.
We've said all this.
Kim has anywhere from 8 to 12 nuclear mobile missiles that we would have a short time to locate. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's what I'm picturing. You cut off the head of that dragon, and that dragon doesn't go anymore.
Yes.
You know, I have a feeling like all these people, it's going to be like a Ding Dong the Witch is Dead sort of situation.
Yes.
They're all going to be like, oh, praise Jesus, he's gone.
Yeah.
They're not just going to continue on with it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is like a close group of guys who are dyed in the wool who want to see his shit through. But I think you take out Un, and those people
The
are
whole
going
thing
to
falls
come,
apart.
and they're going to be like, thank God, let's be like a normal country. Give us electricity, please. I'm dying here.
Yes, but to his point, these are people that have been trained for generations to believe 100% of what that guy says, almost godlike.
Yeah.
And that this is like your whole existence is in schooling. Think about that. Like what we learned in school growing up. If we had no contact with outside world,
except for curious parachutes dropping every now and then with DVDs and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, you're right. And you hope that there's something to that. You know, dropping those sticks and computer stuff. But if you never had the internet, you never had anyone teaching you other than adults ever teaching you anything other than this evil empire America is coming and we need to prepare for the war that's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And that's all you've ever heard. Because I like to believe like you do. Like we saw with Saddam Hussein when he was toppled and people were just like waving American flags and loved it.
Yeah.
But North Korea is a totally different animal. And those tunnels and cities underground they talk
Yeah,
about.
but everybody talked about Saddam like that too. You know how that whatever guard that high-powered military guard would go into play, and oh man, they are really tough to deal with. And like you just mentioned, they ran with their tails between their legs.
Yeah.
As soon as it looked like defeat was probable.
Well, then there's the other one of Japan, though. When it finally took a bomb being dropped on them, where that finally triggered their leader, who was godlike to them, to put their fucking bayonets down. Man, they were not going to stop.
Should we drop a bomb?
Maybe.
Is this surgery or is it?
I don't know. Maybe my thoughts of war and bombs is just exaggerated. Like I figure, like okay, where
how high would we drop that bomb from, Mike?
we get that son of a bitch a good
1,800
12,
miles?
1,300 miles into the air, and then you just go, okay, we've seen the pinpoint accuracy when you're going after an ISIS tent or something, and there's going to be some collateral damage, and I apologize in
These
advance
things
for
happen.
that. I mean, we're going to break a few eggs, right? But if you knew where his lair is, and you just dropped the motherfucking boom.
Yeah, how about one of those mother of all bombs?
Nah,
right?
no, I don't need it to go a couple miles. I need it to go 100 miles.
Okay.
And so
We're talking
we drop.
nuclear.
We're going nuclear, and just like fucking boom.
That's
And
what I'm asking you. Should we do
Yeah,
that?
yeah, like yesterday. And just hope that we get enough word to people like, get out of the way, it's coming. And Oon's not going to be able to go anywhere, but if they've got like 15 stories below ground bunkers, would they be able to tell it's coming? Can we sneak attack those sons of bitches? I don't know. I think we need someone other than the United States to do it, though. We need help. We need someone else to launch that.
Jordan writes in. Jordan the pilot. Got my T-shirt today. He's referring to his member's T-shirt. Didn't know I lived in Chicago. See, of course, E took our things to the post office, and that's
No.
that's the address.
No, that's not what
It's
he
not
did.
Chicago oil?
No, he apparently lives in Chicago Oil, is where he lives. Chicago Oil.
Yeah, so what he did was he didn't capitalize the I in Illinois. So Chicago, Illinois becomes one word, Chicago Oil.
Now I got you.
Got where it had to go, didn't it?
It did, amazingly, and thank God it did, because here's our return address. Does that look like the word Franklin to you? Or does it look like Funk Mountain?
It looks like Funk
Mountain
Latin.
Abbreviated?
I see Funk Latin,
Okay.
Michigan. Half a square 80 or half a square something from the periodic table 025. Radio 4. I'll give him 1 in studios there. Yeah. Boy, oh boy.
Glad they figured out Chicago Oil, because this would not have gotten back to us. Mike, we'll save the rest for tomorrow.
Very good. All right. Well, let's get out of here, gentlemen. Thank you to Amy Parnes for joining the show today to talk about her book, Shattered. We appreciate that. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. We'll do it again tomorrow. We'll see you then.
You've been listening to the Detroit Cast with your hosts, Mike and Jay. From all of us at Radio for One Studios, thank you for listening. And as always, thank you, Detroit.